Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi addresses PM SVANidhi beneficiaries, distributes loans under the scheme to 1 lakh street vendors, also lays foundation stone of 2 corridors of Delhi Metro. Bhutanese Prime Minister Sherring Topgay on a 5-day official visit to India to hold bilateral talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. India's Home Minister Amit Shah defends the Citizenship Amendment Act, says it offers citizenship to persecuted religious minorities from Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan, does not take away anyone's citizenship. And Russia bans 227 US citizens from entering the country, including US State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller. The ban is in view of Russia-phobic actions and statements. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday attended the PM SVANidhi program at Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium in New Delhi. At the program, Prime Minister Modi laid the foundation stone of 2 additional corridors of Delhi Metro's Phase 4. He also distributed loans under the PM SVANidhi scheme to 1 lakh street vendors, including 5,000 SVAs from Delhi. India's Home Minister Amit Shah has sought to dispel misunderstandings and uncertainties over the government's decision to implement the Citizenship Amendment Act. In a candid interview, Shah addressed several key elements of the law and effectively quelled apprehension about the decision.
Following the notification of the Citizenship Amendment Act or the CAA, India's Home Minister Amit Shah sought to dispel any apprehensions regarding the act. In a candid interview to an Indian news agency, Amit Shah asserted that the act will never be taken back.
सीए का कानून कभी वापस नहीं जाएगा और भारत की नागरिकता सुनिश्चित करना ये भारत का विषय है, भारत की संप्रभुता का निर्णय है. इसके साथ हम कोई कॉम्प्रोमाइज नहीं कर सकते.
Shah further said that the act seeks to offer refuge to persecuted religious minorities from neighboring countries. He categorically made it clear once again that CAA does not impact the citizenship status of the Indian Muslims.
अखंड भारत के जो लोग हिस्सा थे और जिन पर धार्मिक प्रताड़ना हुई है, उसको शरण देना मैं मानता हूं हमारी नैतिक जिम्मेदारी है और हमारी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल रिस्पांसिबिलिटी. जब विभाजन हुआ तब पाकिस्तान में 23% हिंदू थे, हिंदू और सिख थे. आज 3.7% बच गए. कहां गए सारे? 1951 में हिंदुओं का प्रतिशत 22% था. मैं 51 की बात कर रहा हूं. बांग्लादेश की 51 के आंकड़े ऊपर हमारे पास है. 2011 की जनगणना में वो 10% रह गए. कहां गए वो लोग? अफगानिस्तान 1992 के पूर्व, मैं 92 के आंकड़े मेरे पास लगभग 2 लाख सिख और हिंदू थे और आज करीब 500 बच गए.
He also sought to quell the concerns surrounding the violation of Article 14 of the Indian Constitution.
जहां तक असंवैधानिक होने का सवाल है, वो आर्टिकल अनुच्छेद 14 का हवाला देते हैं. वो भूल जाते हैं कि अनुच्छेद 14 में 2 अपवाद रखे हुए हैं. एक रीजनेबल क्लासिफिकेशन का अपवाद है और दूसरा कानून के उद्देश्यों के साथ लॉजिकल संबंध होना चाहिए. तो वो आर्टिकल 14 का वायोलेशन नहीं करता है.
Amit Shah gave assurance to the minorities that there is no need to fear as there is no provision in the CAA to take away anyone's citizenship.
इस देश के अल्पसंख्यक माइनॉरिटीज या तो किसी और व्यक्ति को डरने की जरूरत नहीं है, क्योंकि सीएए में किसी की नागरिकता लेने का प्रावधान ही नहीं है। सीएए सिर्फ और सिर्फ 3 देश अफगानिस्तान, पाकिस्तान और बांग्लादेश से हिंदू, सिख, बौद्ध, क्रिश्चियन और पारसी जो जैन और पारसी शरणार्थी आए हैं, इनको उनका अधिकार देने का कानून है, नागरिकता देने का कानून है, जिससे इनके जीवन की वेदनाओं को हम कम कर पाए।
The act has attracted unjustifiable and unreasonable criticism from the international media.
फॉरेन मीडिया को पूछे उनके देश में ट्रिपल तलाक है क्या, उनके देश में मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ है क्या, उनके देश में एक भी स्टेट में 370 जैसा प्रोविजन है क्या। आप इस लॉ को आइसोलेशन में नहीं दे सकती। इस देश का एक इतिहास है। इस देश का विभाजन धर्म के आधार पर होना ही नहीं चाहिए था।
The act, which came into effect since Monday, will give citizenship to persecuted Hindus, Jains, Sikhs, Buddhists and Christians who were living as refugees in India. The government of India has launched an online portal where these people can apply for Indian citizenship. The Indian government will soon launch a mobile application that will make the process easier. Rishabh Sharma's report for DD India.
A high-level committee on Thursday submitted its report on One Nation, One Election to President of India, Draupadi Murmu, in New Delhi. The committee was formed to draw a roadmap for holding simultaneous elections at the state and centre level in India. Former Indian President Ramnath Kovind, along with Union Minister Amit Shah and Arjun Ram Meghwal and others, have submitted the report on Thursday. The report comprises of 18,626 pages. It is an outcome of extensive consultations with stakeholders, experts and research of 191 days since its constitution on September last year. The committee has recommended a concrete model for One Nation, One Election. It is reported to have deliberated on a number of options for ensuring continuity of simultaneous elections in India. Moving on, Bhutanese Prime Minister Tshering Tobgay arrived in New Delhi on Thursday for a 5-day official visit to India at the invitation of Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. This is his first overseas visit after assuming office in January 2024. During the visit, the Prime Minister of Bhutan will call on India's President Draupadi Murmu and will also hold bilateral talks with the Prime Minister of India. India's External Affairs Minister and other Indian dignitaries will also call on the Prime Minister of Bhutan. The visit of Bhutanese Prime Minister will provide an opportunity to the two sides to review the partnership progress. Delhi Airport has achieved a significant milestone by transshipping over 80 lakh kgs of Bangladeshi cargo to international destinations in the last 1 year. This achievement not only cements Delhi Airport's status as the foremost cargo hub in Southeast Asia, but also catalyzes a favourable domino effect throughout the aviation industry. The transshipment facility for Bangladeshi cargo first began on February 26, 2023, paving the way for a faster and cost-effective route of shipping export cargo internationally. Since then, Delhi Airport has helped transship over 80 lakh kgs of ready-made garments to European nations, including Spain, the Netherlands and France. The European Union is the second largest export destination for Bangladeshi apparel, followed by UK and Canada. The Office of the Principal Scientific Advisor of the Government of India has released an in-depth report documenting India's advancements in science and technology and innovation in the last decade. This report provides a panoramic view of the stakeholders, remarkable progress and transformative initiatives. The insights presented in this comprehensive report poised to shape policies and investments that further accelerate India's technological growth. Addressing the stakeholders of science and technology ecosystem, India's Minister of Science and Technology, Jitendra Singh, said that the progress made over the last 10 years in the realm of science and technology will help in realizing the vision of making India for the next 10 years as a decade.
For the first time after independence, it gave a sense of esteem to the science and the scientists, which possibly had not happened earlier. It is under this government, this has been lifted. And see what has happened. You have drone Didis. Did you ever think? You only had drone IITians. Today you have drone Didi. And this journey has also happened only in the last 2 years. So what I'm trying to say is that everything was there. The difference is that new vistas were not opened up, or those which were already existed were also shut down. And I think one of the biggest achievements ultimately is that through the medium of science, not only we have assumed leadership at the world arena, but in some ways we have also moved ahead of others. Of course, Chandrayaan is one example. In the G20, when we had a global bio-alliance, so we are now even ready to take the leadership role, because the world is looking up to us. It's now up to us whether we can do that. But we have started actually making it evident.
Amid the ongoing Israel-Gaza conflict, Israeli lawmakers on Wednesday gave their final approval to an amended 2024 state budget to fund its operations against Gaza. Parliament members voted in favor of the spending package of $160 billion. Additionally, Israel has announced that it will try to flood Gaza with humanitarian aid from a variety of entry points. More in this report.
Continuing its operation in Gaza, Israeli lawmakers on Wednesday gave their final approval to an amended 2024 state budget to fund Israel's operations against Gaza. Parliament members voted in favor of the spending package of $160 billion. The plan also includes higher allocations for health, education, police and welfare.
Knesset has approved a good budget by a solid majority. Not a budget we liked from the beginning. We didn't want this war. But under the circumstances, it is a good budget with 4 goals. Support the war efforts until victory. With God's help, care for our reservists who are at the center of this budget.
However, Israel has announced that it will try to flood Gaza with humanitarian aid from a variety of entry points, but they will ensure that aid coming in by sea will benefit the Palestinian civilians in Gaza and not Hamas.
The humanitarian issue that will soon be on the agenda surrounded the expected arrivals of vessels is a central issue in order to allow supply to the civilians and not to Hamas. Any such act weakens Hamas, strengthens our grip and allows us to turn the ball on Hamas' head. We will continue to do so because it allows us operationally to complete our mission.
On the international side, US said that the Israeli government has a responsibility and obligation to ensure the job of humanitarian agencies working in Gaza.
The Israeli military, the Israeli government have a responsibility and an obligation to do everything possible to ensure that the humanitarians can do their jobs. And among other things, that means making sure that if there's a humanitarian facility that's clearly identified, it's not struck. It means making sure that if there's a supply mission, a convoy, trucks going to a particular place at a particular time, that the Israeli military does everything possible to ensure its secure passage.
Aid continues to arrive in Gaza. Germany Air Force started operation to supply aid to people in Gaza. A first Bundeswehr German Army aircraft took off from Everieux, France to Jordan. US too airdropped aid over Gaza. Meanwhile, Israel conducted airstrikes on Hamas unit and eliminated Hamas commander Mohammed Abu Hasna, who was involved in taking control of humanitarian aid and distributing it to Hamas operatives.
You're watching DD India Live, still to come in this edition. Nigeria kidnappings ruin families, keep children out of school as kidnappers demand over $620,000 for the Kigora school students' release. Russian President Vladimir Putin asks voters, including those in annexed regions of Ukraine, to unite in shaping Russia's future. And the world remembers the genius of Nobel laureate Albert Einstein on his birth anniversary.
Why have the big 5 powers of the United Nations Security Council seen no change in 8 decades? Who is stalling reform of the world body, and for how long can we wait? Are we truly alone in the universe, or are there aliens who keep playing hide and seek with us? Watch Connecting the Dots to get the full picture every Friday at 8 p.m. IST on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Staying in Asia, Bangladeshi legendary Rabindra Sangeet singer Saadi Mohammed passed away last evening. 70-year-old singer was mentally unfit after his mother's death last year. Saadi served as the director of the cultural organization Rabi Rag. Saadi's demise has cast a grim shadow in Bangladesh's cultural sphere. Onto the Caribbean now. The United Nations is withdrawing non-essential personnel from Haiti amid rising gang violence in the crisis-plagued Caribbean nation. Since the 29th of February, multiple armed gangs in Haiti have launched attacks on public facilities in the capital Port-au-Prince, including police stations and the international airport. Haiti is in the grip of a government crisis following the resignation of the interim Prime Minister Ariel Henry. On to Africa now. Gunmen who kidnapped 286 students and staff from a school in northern Nigeria last week have demanded a total of 1 billion naira for their release, equivalent to $620,000. This is what a spokesman for the families of the hostages and a local councillor said. DD India's Ajek Mangut reports from Abuja.
According to a spokesman for the families of the hostages and a local councillor, the kidnappers contacted the families through his phone to demand the ransom on Tuesday. He said the kidnappers have given an ultimatum for the ransom to be paid within 20 days, starting from the day the call was made. The kidnappers threatened to kill all the students if their demand was not met. But Nigeria's president has said no dime will be paid to rescue the hostages or other kidnapped victims. Instead, he directed security agencies to ensure the release of all kidnapped victims without any payment to the kidnappers. Last week, the governor of Kaduna State assured parents that the government was working to secure the safe release of their children. Nigeria has seen a rise in cases of kidnappings in recent weeks, which security experts have attributed to the current economic crisis. At least 50 women and children were kidnapped barely 24 hours before the Kuriga incident. Gunmen known as bandits have been attacking villages, killing and kidnapping people for ransom. The country has a law against payment of ransom to kidnappers, but according to the intelligence agency SBM, nearly $400,000 was paid by families between July 2022 and June 2023 to rescue their loved ones. Experts warn that unless the government addresses current economic challenges, things could get worse. Ajak Mangut in Abuja, reporting for DD India.
The US House of Representatives on Wednesday overwhelmingly approved a bill requiring TikTok's Chinese parent company ByteDance to sell its US assets within 6 months or risk a ban on the popular short video app used by around 170 million Americans. While the bill was passed with bipartisan backing, its fate in the Senate remains uncertain, with some advocating for a different approach to regulating the foreign-owned apps with potential security risks. This legislation is part of a broader response in Washington to address US national security concerns related to China. China, on the other hand, responded to the news with its foreign ministry spokesman calling the bill an act of bullying.
In recent years, although the United States has never found any evidence on TikTok's so-called threat to its national security, it has never ceased to suppress TikTok. This kind of conduct of resorting to bullying, when failing to win in fair competition, disrupts the normal business operations, frustrates international investors' confidence in the investment environment, and undermines the normal international economic and trade order.
Russian President Vladimir Putin urged voters on Thursday, including those in annexed regions of Ukraine, to unite in shaping Russia's future by participating in this week's presidential election, where he is widely expected to secure victory.
You're not only to cast your vote, but to firmly declare your will and aspiration, your personal involvement in Russia's further development, because the election is a step into the future. It is vital to underscore our cohesion and resolve and move forward together. Every vote you cast is valued and meaningful. Therefore, I urge you to exercise your right to vote.
Russia on Wednesday banned 227 U.S. citizens from entering the country, including U.S. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller. The ban, announced on its website, also included the Deputy Ministers of Commerce, Defense and Energy, as well as former U.S. Ambassador to Russia, John Sullivan. For the first time, the Odisha Lalit Kala Academy hosted an Odishan tribal artists camp in Dubai that concluded on Thursday. The three-day event featured live creation of tribal paintings, offering spectators a rare glimpse into the intricate process of tribal art forms. A ceremonial inauguration marked the unveiling of the completed paintings, attended by Sudarshan Patnaik, a renowned sand artist from India and president of the Odisha Lalit Kala Academy, and Consul General of India Satish Sivan. The initiative is expected to bridge the gap in international awareness of Odisha's dynamic tribal art culture. Now, March 14th marks the birth anniversary of the great physicist and Nobel laureate Albert Einstein. Einstein was born in 1876, and by 1905 he had worked out some of the most path-breaking research in the field of physics that changed the way the world viewed the subject. His equations have helped us to understand the universe, space, time, gravity, and to accurately count atoms. They literally illuminate our lives and are applied to fields across science. A report.
The mind of a genius and its impact on almost everything we do, we take a lot for granted because the applications of science have advanced to such an extent that we are experiencing a different quality of life. But one man was largely responsible for that, Albert Einstein. In 1905, a miracle year, Einstein published groundbreaking papers on the photoelectric effect, the Brownian motion, and the special theory of relativity. 10 years later, he added the general theory of relativity that incorporated gravitation.
GPS system relies heavily on Einstein's general relativity. The photoelectric effect is something which paved way for detecting light. So in order to detect light, earlier we started with photomultiplier tubes, and that relied exactly on photoelectric effect. And then it developed into CCDs and the cameras which we have today. Counting the atoms and the colloids, this is something which started the field of chemistry. We were able to count the number of atoms. Now we know how the gases behave, and this Brownian motion is not just applicable in physics or chemistry, it's also applicable in finance.
The photoelectric effect is the emission of electrons from a material caused by light. Special relativity shows us that the speed of light is independent of the motion of the observer.
And light has no mass.
Black holes are regions of space where gravitational pull is so strong that not even light can escape.
The photon which would have started from the sun starts 8 minutes earlier, comes to the earth after 8 minutes, and exactly 8 minutes have passed. For the photon, there is no time. When it started, when it was detected, there is no time for the photon. So it was absorbed and emitted at the same time. So that connected space and time together.
100 years after the general theory of relativity, science was able to confirm gravitational waves. At a macro level, Einstein's general relativity tells us about the curvature of space-time in 4 dimensions that cause gravity.
Einstein predicted the existence of gravitational waves in 1915, and subsequently, because these are what are ripples of space and time, if you have 2 black holes which are going around each other, they would create a ripple in space and time. Subsequently, when the technology is developed over time, after 100 years exactly in 2015, we detected gravitational waves.
His collaborations with other scientists was through correspondence. Satyendranath Bose's research around photons brought to light subatomic particles, later called bosons. Einstein engaged with India's political class on subjects like satyagraha, colonialism and industrialization. He even called the fellow Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore rabbi. Bureau Report, DD India.
So that's all for this edition of DD India Live. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly Twitter and Instagram at DD India Live. We will be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from my entire team in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.